They thought she was a fool. My husband and his family conspired to marry him to his mistress while celebrating their party, unaware that I was signing the sales contract for the $15 million mansion they lived in. When my husband returned home, he screamed hysterically in front of the gate. He was shocked to discover that his luxurious house had already been sold, and the real wedding gift for him was just about to begin. As the Los Angeles sky was fading into a deep orange, Alara Vance finally hit the send button on a crucial email on her computer. The final design for the year's most important client project was complete. A wave of relief washed over her tense back. She leaned back in her office chair, massaging her slightly throbbing temples. It was already 8 p.m. She had been working non-stop since 8 a.m. All she had done was grab a quick nap in the office and eat a snack. The office, which had previously been buzzing with activity, was now starting to empty out. Only a few colleagues remained, rushing to meet their own deadlines. Alara picked up her cell phone. There was no reply from her husband, Grant. That morning, Alara had sent him a message of encouragement. "Be careful on your business trip to Seattle, darling. Eat well. I'll wait for news from you." Beside the message were only 2 gray ticks. He hadn't read it yet. Alara Sayed. Grant was probably very busy. Client meetings in Seattle must be taking up a lot of his time, she thought. Her husband had been gone for 3 days, and the house felt empty without him. Although she worked hard, she always strived to meet Grant's needs. She always missed him. She missed the jokes and laughter of the man she had been married to for 5 years. Before organizing her desk and heading home to soothe a moment of loneliness, Alara opened the Instagram app on her phone. Her fingers automatically scrolled through the feed. News from an old friend, a furniture ad, a couple of recipe videos, and then a photo post stopped her progress. The photo had been posted by her mother-in-law, Mrs. Sterling. Alara's heart began to beat a little faster, not from a bad feeling, but because the photo was too striking. It was a wedding photo. In it, her husband, Grant, stood gallantly in an ivory tuxedo. Beside him, smiling broadly, was a face Alara knew well. Chloe Davies, a junior employee from another department. Chloe wore a matching wedding dress and heavy makeup. Both held what appeared to be a marriage vows book. The most shocking thing was the people around them. Mrs. Sterling stood right next to Grant, embracing her son proudly. Alara's sister-in-law, her husband's aunts, and uncles, they were all there. Everyone was smiling happily at the camera, posing in a space decorated with fresh flowers. Alara's hands began to tremble. This had to be a mistake. Perhaps it was an old photo, or maybe just a celebration party, but their attire was clearly wedding-specific. Alara read the caption Mrs. Sterling had written. The sentence was short, but it felt like a slap in Alara's face. "My dear son, may you be happy forever with our Chloe. You finally took the plunge." Alara's world seemed to stop. The air in the well-conditioned office suddenly felt suffocating. The sound of her colleague's keyboard across the room sounded like a distant hum. Finally took the plunge. The word finally implied there had been a long process hidden from her. It was not a coincidence. It wasn't a sudden arranged marriage. This was something that had been brewing for a long time. With stiff fingers, Alara zoomed in on the photo. There was no doubt it was Grant, her husband, the man she had taken to the airport 3 days earlier, telling him he was going on a business trip to Seattle. The man she had sent a loving message to that very morning. She saw Grant's smile in the photo. A genuinely happy smile, a smile Alara hadn't seen in a long time when she was with him. And then Alara saw the comments. The comments cut even deeper into her heart. "Congrats, Grant. Chloe is finally part of the family," her sister-in-law wrote. "Oh, Mrs. Sterling, you finally have a new daughter-in-law who will give you grandchildren." "Congratulations," wrote one of Grant's aunts. "Congrats on the wedding, bro. Let's hear some baby news soon," added a cousin of Grant. They all knew. Her husband's entire family knew. They had all attended. They had all blessed it. They were all part of this huge lie. Alara felt nauseous. While she worked herself to the bone to pay the mortgage on their luxurious Bel Air home, to pay the installments on Grant's sports car, and even to give Mrs. Sterling a monthly allowance, they were all planning her husband's second wedding behind her back. a secret wedding. Of course, Grant would not have dared to ask her for a divorce or ask for permission to remarry, because Grant knew that most of their main assets were in Alara's name. The luxurious house in the Bel Air neighborhood, valued at $15 million, had been purchased by Alara a few years earlier, with a huge bonus she received from her company. Although Grant insisted on putting it in both their names, Alara, educated by her father to be financially savvy, insisted it be solely in her name. Grant reluctantly agreed on the condition that the latest luxury sports car model be in his name. Alara fulfilled that condition. Now all her kindness seemed foolish. All her love seemed in vain. Not only had she been betrayed by her husband, but collectively by the entire family she had respected and treated well. The pain was incredibly sharp, but strangely, no tears flowed. All that remained was a glacial coldness stemming from pure rage. Alara closed the Instagram app. She didn't need to see more. She didn't need to confirm anything. The photos and comments were enough. She took a deep breath to calm her hands, which were still trembling. She looked at her computer screen showing her sent items folder. Project completed. The client was satisfied. Her career was brilliant, but her home was shattered. She wouldn't let this drag her down. She wasn't going to be the weak woman who cries in a corner. She had worked too hard to fall apart like this. They all supported Grant's actions. They all celebrated this betrayal. Alara stood up. She would take revenge on them. All of them. At that very moment, she wouldn't wait for Grant to return from Seattle. She would act right now. With firm, mechanical movements, Alara picked up her purse. The laptop, the notepad, the wallet. The last remaining colleague, a young woman named Skylar, looked at her. "Boss, are you okay? You look terrible." Alara turned and tried to force a weak smile, but failed. "I'm fine, Skylar. Just a little tired. I'm heading out." She left the office. Her steps were decisive. In the elevator descending to the basement, her mind raced. She wasn't thinking about her broken heart. She was thinking about the steps she needed to take. Her logic, which she normally used to solve client problems, was now working at full speed to save herself. In her car, parked in the underground garage, she didn't start the engine immediately. She sat silently in the stillness. She needed one more confirmation. Not with a photo, but with a voice. She needed to hear firsthand how they would react to her. Her hand searched for Mrs. Sterling's contact. She pressed the call button. The phone rang 3 times, and then she heard Mrs. Sterling's cheerful, triumphant voice. "Well, Alara, what's up at this hour? Working late again?" Alara's voice was flat, cold, unemotional. "Yes, ma'am. Where are you now? It sounds quite loud." A small laugh was heard on the other end of the line. That laugh, which Alara used to consider affectionate, now sounded like mockery. "Oh, this? We're having a family gathering. Is there something to celebrate at home?" "A celebration?" Alara repeated. "Grant and Chloe's wedding." There was a moment of silence. Alara could imagine Mrs. Sterling was surprised she found out so quickly. But soon her mother-in-law's tone changed. There were no more lies. Only a cynical, contemptuous tone remained. "Wow, you saw our Instagram? Well, better this way. I thought you were so busy with your work that you didn't have time for social media. That way I don't have to give you explanations." Alara's chest tightened. So, it was true. "Ma'am, why? How could you all do this behind my back?" "Do this to you?" Mrs. Sterling laughed again, this time louder. "You're the one who did this to us. Alara Vance, what have you given my son in 5 years of marriage? You can't even have children. You haven't been able to give this family a grandchild. Grant is the only son of our house. He needs offspring. He has to carry on the lineage." The words, "You can't even have children," cut like a dagger. They had never done medical tests. Grant always refused with the excuse of being busy. The blame was always placed on Alara. "But why a secret wedding? Why didn't you talk to me properly?" "Talk to you? For what? You would never have allowed it. You are a selfish career woman. You value your work more than your husband. Look at Chloe. She is good wife material, and most importantly, she is fertile. She is already 2 months pregnant with Grant's baby. I told my son it was better to marry them than to let them keep sinning. It's legal, right? As an educated woman, you should understand. You should be willing to support your husband. 2 months pregnant. That meant this affair had been going on for months, maybe years. Grant's frequent business trips were all lies, and her mother-in-law not only knew but had planned the whole thing. "So, you planned everything?" Alara asked, almost in a whisper. "Of course," Mrs. Sterling replied proudly. "I found Chloe for Grant, a woman who knows her duties as a wife, who serves her husband and gives him children, not a woman like you who only knows how to make money. Just give up, Alara. Accept your fate. Don't be an obstacle to my son's happiness. If you accept it meekly, you will be blessed. Click, Mrs. Sterling cut the call. Alara stared at the dark screen of her cell phone. Silence, no tears. Her anger had surpassed the threshold of pain. She felt like an idiot. All this time, she had respected Mrs. Sterling as her own mother. She sent her money every month without question. She bought her expensive gifts on her birthday. And this was the reward. She was treated as a money-making machine who couldn't have children. Fine, Alara told herself. You all supported him. You celebrated over my pain. Her head spun rapidly. The assets, that was what they were after. They thought Alara would quietly accept the situation and continue funding their luxurious lifestyle. They thought that as a good wife, she would obey. They were completely wrong. Alara changed contacts on her cell phone. This time she called her personal attorney, Mr. Reynolds, a resolute and competent middle-aged man who helped her with all the legal paperwork for her assets and businesses. Mr. Reynolds, apologize for the hour. It's Alara. Mrs. Vance, what is going on? Has something happened? Mr. Reynolds' voice was calm. I need your help immediately. Tonight, Alara's voice was firm. I want to sell my house, the house on Acacia Lane, number 1, the house I live in. On the other end of the line, Mr. Reynolds gasped in surprise. Mrs. Vance, you mean the $15 million mansion? Why so suddenly? Is there a problem? There is a very urgent problem. I need to sell it tonight. I don't care if the price drops slightly. The important thing is that it is sold tonight or at the latest tomorrow morning. The money must go to a new personal account of mine. Please create a new account that is not linked to any joint accounts. Mr. Reynolds was a professional. He didn't ask any more questions about his client's personal affairs. He recognized the tone in Alara's voice. Coincidentally, Mrs. Vance, one of my clients, a real estate investor named Mr. Harrison, has been after a house in that area for a while. He made an offer a long time ago, but you rejected it. I am sure he still wants it. I will contact him right now. He is someone who likes quick transactions. All the documents are safely stored in my office. 100% in your name. Perfect, Alara said. Please take care of all the procedures. If my signature is needed, I will go to your office right now. And one more thing, counselor. Yes, tell me. Prepare the divorce papers from my husband, Grant Sterling, with the toughest possible terms, but do not file them yet. Wait for my instructions. Understood, Mrs. Vance. I will prepare everything. Drive carefully. Alara hung up. She started the car. She did not return to that $15 million house. It was no longer her home. It was just an asset that needed to be liquidated. She would stay in a hotel that night, waiting for the money to be deposited, planning her next step. She stepped on the accelerator. Her car sped through the LA traffic. In her mind, a cold and detailed revenge plan began to take shape. If they wanted a party, Alara would give them a wedding gift they would never forget in their lives. Alara did not go home that night. She drove straight to a 5-star hotel not far from Mr. Reynolds' office. She booked a suite for 3 days using her personal credit card and checked in using her maiden name. After dropping off her purse, she went straight to Mr. Reynolds' office, who had agreed to meet with her that night. The middle-aged man looked at Alara with worried but professional eyes. He didn't ask much, simply presenting her with initial documents. This is a power of sale, Mrs. Vance. With this, I can proceed with negotiations tomorrow morning with Mr. Harrison, Mr. Reynolds explained. Mr. Reynolds explained? Harrison was the name of the investor he had mentioned on the phone. I have already contacted him. He is very interested and has agreed to meet tomorrow morning. He doesn't like to waste time. Good, Alara said curtly. Her voice was determined. She signed the documents without hesitation. Please process it as quickly as possible, counselor. I want the transaction to close tomorrow. I will do everything possible, ma'am. Tomorrow morning, I will also have a new bank account ready in your name, completely separate from any other accounts. The draft of the divorce petition is being prepared by my team. Alara nodded. Thank you, counselor. I need to stop by the house for a moment. There are some important documents I must collect myself. Would you like me to accompany you or send someone? Mr. Reynolds offered. Alara shook her head. It's not necessary. I can do it alone. The house is still in my name. Legally, I have every right. After leaving the attorney's office, Alara drove to the house on Acacia Lane. The imposing $15 million mansion stood firm under the moonlight. It looked beautiful, but it felt cold and strange. This would be the last time she would come here. She parked her car in the garage next to Grant's luxury sports car. Grant's? Alara smiled cynically. She was the one who bought it. She used her spare key to enter. The house was dark and silent. The house cleaner had already left in the afternoon. Alara did not turn on the main light. With the light of her cell phone, she went directly to the study. This room was her domain, the place where she often worked late, earning the money that Grant and his family enjoyed. Behind a large abstract painting was a wall safe. Grant knew the safe was there, but he didn't know the combination. He thought it was their wedding anniversary. Alara had changed it 6 months ago, after Grant joked one day about wanting to borrow the house deed as collateral for a loan for a new business. That business never started. Alara entered the new number combination, her late father's birthday. The safe opened with a soft click. Inside, everything was tidy. Alara took a deep breath. This was the fruit of her hard work. She began to take them out one by one. First, the stack of documents on top. The deed to this property. She opened it. Owner, Alara Vance, a single name. She was thankful for her father's old advice. Daughter, never mix large assets with blind love. Second, the car documentation. The luxury sedan she used daily was in Alara's name. The family SUV, which her mother-in-law often used when visiting, was also in Alara's name, and the documentation for Grant's sports car. Alara gave a slight smile. Grant was very proud of that car. He showed it off to all his friends as if he had earned it through his own effort. But Alara was smart enough. The car was purchased in the name of Alara's company, as a company vehicle for her, the director. Grant was only provided the convenience of being able to use it. The documentation was safely in Alara's hands. Third, the deeds to 2 commercial properties in a newly developed business district. Both were purely Alara's investments, both in Alara's name. Fourth, a folder with reports on her stock and fund portfolio. All securities accounts were personal, opened long before she married. Their value had already multiplied enormously. She did a quick calculation in her head. Grant's salary was not small, but it was nothing compared to her income. Grant's salary was spent on his lifestyle, his golf hobby, modifying a sports car that wasn't even his, treating his friends, not to mention the monthly allowance to his mother-in-law and in-laws. Alara estimated that probably 80% or 90% of the total wealth they enjoyed together was purely due to her sweat and foresight. Legally, almost everything was in her name. Grant was too lazy, too arrogant to worry about boring administrative details. He only wanted to use, enjoy, and show off. When Alara was about to close the safe, a new blue folder in the back caught her attention. It was not one of her folders. She had never put that document there. Her hand reached out and pulled out the folder. There was no label on the front. She opened it, and her heart stopped. It was a life insurance policy. She read it slowly. Insured. Alara Vance. Sum insured, $10 million USD. Policy issue date, 3 months ago. 3 months ago was when Chloe would be certain of her pregnancy, Alara thought. And then she read the most important part, the beneficiary's name. Her heart stopped for an instant. It was written there, Chloe Davies, and below, a description, future spouse. Alara's breath hitched. The blood in her entire body seemed to freeze. This was no longer a simple affair. This was no longer a simple secret wedding. This was no longer just a matter of money. This was a murder plot. Not only did they want her fortune, they wanted her fortune and her life at the same time. If Alara died, the $10 million would be paid to Chloe, the future spouse. The secret wedding was just the beginning. Chloe's pregnancy was the catalyst. Her mother-in-law's words, "You can't even have children," suddenly took on a much more sinister meaning. Perhaps it wasn't just an insult, but a justification for why she deserved to be eliminated. Alara sank onto the cold floor of the study. The pain of betrayal had now transformed into real fear, which in turn mutated into icy fury. They wanted to kill her. The man she loved, Grant, the man who slept in the same bed as her, was planning her death with his mistress. She would not give them that chance. With hands shaking violently, Alara tucked that insurance policy into her purse. This was evidence. She got up and pulled a small duffel bag from the closet. She no longer bothered to sentimentally collect her belongings, only taking what was necessary. Her work laptop, all the asset documents she had just taken out, a few changes of practical clothes, and her personal items. Her eyes paused on a wedding photo of the two of them on the desk. Grant smiled broadly. Alara smiled very happily, innocent and full of love. She took the photo out of the frame and stared at Grant's face. This man wanted me dead. With a quick motion, she tore the photo in half, and again, and again. She threw the pieces of the photo into the wastebasket, leaving the empty frame on the desk. Alara turned off the study light and locked it. She left the house. She walked through the luxurious living room, past the modern kitchen where she used to cook Grant's favorite dishes. She didn't look back, got into her car, closed the front door from the outside, and drove away. The $15 million house was now just a property about to change hands. And she was no longer a betrayed wife, she was a woman fighting for her life. Alara didn't sleep at all that night. She spent the night in the luxurious but quiet hotel room. She spent time meditating, searching for strength and wisdom. The life insurance policy lay on the table beside her. Every time her eyes saw that blue folder, any remaining doubt or sadness instantly vanished, replaced by steely determination. This was no longer a matter of divorce, it was a criminal matter. At 8 a.m., her cell phone rang. It was Mr. Reynolds. "Mrs. Vance, good news. Mr. Harrison has agreed 100%. We will meet at my office at 10 a.m. He will bring his notary and legal team immediately. He wants to close the deal today, as you requested?" "Yes, counselor. I will be there at 10. "Thank you very much," Alara replied. Her voice was calm and composed. She prepared herself. She chose her best business suit, a fitted black jacket, an impeccable white shirt, and an elegant dark gray scarf. She applied light makeup to hide the traces of the sleepless night. The image she saw in the mirror was not that of a wounded Alara, but that of a cold, focused negotiator, Director Vance. 5 minutes before 10, she arrived at Mr. Reynolds' office. Mr. Harrison, a burly man in his 52nd, was already waiting for her. He was accompanied by 2 lawyers and a notary. The meeting was quick and efficient. "Mrs. Vance, I regret that you have to sell your home so suddenly," Mr. Harrison said in a deep, dignified voice. "But I won't beat around the bush. I have been interested in a property in that area for a long time. Mr. Reynolds told me you are in a hurry. So am I. I will not haggle over the price. $15 million USD. I agree. My team has reviewed the legal documentation this morning. Everything is clean and in your name. I will pay the total today via an immediate wire transfer on the condition that we sign the purchase agreement before 2 p.m. today so I can register the changes immediately." Alara nodded. "Agreed, Mr. Harrison. I appreciate your understanding and efficiency. Let's proceed." For the next 2 hours, the meeting room was filled with the sound of papers and legal discussions between the attorneys. Alara sat silently, reading every clause meticulously. She was focused. At 1 p.m., all documents were ready. Before the notary, Alara signed the purchase agreement. Her hand did not tremble at all. When the pen glided over the paper, she did not feel a loss. She felt freedom. She had just gotten rid of a great burden. the burden of a house full of false memories and evil plans. 30 minutes later, they were all at a private banking center. Mr. X/Ev4 blank/and FT Harrison's team executed the $15 million transfer process. Alara provided the number of the new account that Mr. Reynolds had just created that morning, an account Grant had no idea about. At 1:45 p.m., Alara's cell phone received a notification, a message from the bank, transaction successful. $15 million deposited into your account. Alara showed the notification to Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison smiled satisfied. A pleasure doing business with you, Mrs. Vance. My team will collect the keys to the house this afternoon as agreed. Of course, Alara said. She had already emptied the house of her personal belongings. She didn't care about the rest. After Mr. Harrison and his team left, Alara did not leave the bank immediately. She sat down with the manager of the private banking center with Mr. Reynolds' help. Now I have to take care of a few more matters, Alara told the manager. First, she opened her mobile banking app, logging into the joint account. That was the account she normally filled at the beginning of the month for household expenses, bills, and Grant's allowance. There was still about $140,000 left. Alara hit the transfer button. She moved all that money, down to the last penny, the $140,000, to her new account. The joint account was now officially empty. Balance: $0. Second, she looked at the manager. I am the primary cardholder. There are 2 supplementary cards under my account, both in the name of Mr. Grant Sterling. Please cancel both supplementary cards permanently, effective immediately. May I ask the reason, ma'am? The manager asked politely. I lost the cards. I am concerned about misuse, Alara replied curtly. The manager nodded understandingly. Understood, ma'am. I will process it right now. 5 minutes later, he confirmed. Done, ma'am. The 2 cards in Mr. Grant Sterling's name are no longer active. Perfect. Alara felt relieved. The main flow of money was cut off, the house sold, the money safe in a new account. She returned to her hotel room that afternoon. For the first time in 2 days, she felt she could breathe. She ordered a late lunch from room service. She ate slowly, savoring the delicious food. In the afternoon, she sat on the sofa, looking at the LA skyline from her high-floor room window. Her plan had worked, at least phase 1. Then, her cell phone vibrated. A text message from Grant. His profile picture was still one of them together. How ironic. The first message arrived. Honey, where are you? I called home, and you didn't answer. Alara stared at the message. He said he was on a business trip to Seattle. Such an obvious lie. A few seconds later, a second message arrived. Honey, how strange. I tried to buy you a bag at the airport, and the card was rejected. There's still a lot of limit. Is there a problem with the bank? Buying her a new bag? Alara let out a small laugh, a cold, humorless laugh. She knew that lie. At most, he was buying a bag for Chloe. Alara let the message remain unread for 10 minutes to make him a little nervous. Grant wrote again. Honey, did you read it? Why aren't you answering? Seriously, the card was rejected. It was so embarrassing. Finally, Alara replied. Her fingers danced quietly over the screen. Oh yes, perhaps the limit ran out, honey. Grant's response was immediate. It can't be. You just paid it off. Check it, please. I need it. Alara smiled. She typed her last message to that man. Come home soon, honey. I've prepared a big surprise for you. A surprise for you and for Chloe. She sent the message without waiting for a reply. She immediately blocked Grant's number. She also blocked Mrs. Sterling's number and all the relatives of Grant she knew. There would be no more communication, only action. Phase 2 would begin tomorrow, taking control of company assets and preparing evidence of the suspected fund embezzlement. The game had just begun. The next day, Friday morning, Alara woke up in her hotel room with a clear mind. She no longer felt like a victim. She was a strategist planning a war. After meditating at dawn and having a light breakfast, she got dressed. Today, she didn't wear the usual jacket she used to meet clients. She wore something more comfortable, but still professional. She had to go to her subsidiary office, the office where Grant worked, an office many people didn't know she owned. That company, a design and construction firm, Vance & Associates Design Build, VADB, she had intentionally founded 3 years ago. She put Grant as the director of operations, giving him a high salary and authority. That was her mistake. She wanted her husband to feel proud and successful, not to feel like he was in the shadow of Alara's success. She gave Grant a stage, but he used it to stab her in the back. Alara intentionally did not put herself as CEO of that company. Her name was in the commercial registry as the majority shareholder with 90% of the shares. But the person she named CEO was Mr. Miller, a trusted man for a long time. Mr. Miller handled the large administrative tasks, while Grant managed daily operations, and the person responsible for finances was Mr. Chen, a veteran accountant, 100% loyal to Alara. Alara did not call Mr. Chen. She decided to show up in person. Surprise was a key element. She arrived at the lobby of that modern office at 9 a.m. The young receptionist looked at her. "Good morning. How can I help you? Do you have an appointment with someone?" "I've come to see Mr. Chen. Tell him it's Alara." "Excuse me, Mrs. Alara. Does Alara Vance have an appointment?" Alara smiled slightly. "Tell him it's Alara Vance and it's urgent. He'll understand." The receptionist, looking doubtful, made the call. A few seconds later, her eyes widened. Yes, Mr. Chen. You can go straight up to the 5th floor. Mr. Chen will wait for her by the elevator." And so it was. When the elevator doors opened on the 5th floor, Mr. Chen was already there, pale and nervous. He was a very meticulous man in his late 40s. "Mrs. Vance, what are you doing here? Has something happened?" "Something very serious has happened, Mr. Chen, and I need your help," Alara said as she walked past him. "Close your office door now." Inside the financial director's neat office, Alara sat across from Mr. Chen. She didn't waste time. "Mr. Chen, excuse the unexpected visit. I need you to pull out Mr. Grant Sterling's financial data for the last 6 months, all his expenses, all his fund requests, all the invoices he has approved right now." Mr. Chen's face tightened further. He knew this was no ordinary visit. "Yes, ma'am, of course." He immediately turned to his computer. His fingers moved quickly over the keyboard. "Is there any specific type of expense you are looking for?" "All of them, from travel expenses to client entertainment, including all payments to new vendors." Mr. Chen began opening the files one by one. "Here it is, ma'am. Mr. Sterling has had quite a few trips. The trip to Seattle 3 days ago, plane tickets, 5-star hotel, client representation expenses." "One moment," Alara said. "The trip to Seattle. I want to see it in detail." Mr. Chen opened the attachments. Indeed, plane tickets, hotel invoices, all paid by the company. "Here is the report, ma'am," Mr. Chen said. Alara took out her cell phone, opened the text message conversation history with Grant, and showed the screen to Mr. Chen. "Read this, please." Mr. Chen read Grant's message from a month ago. "Honey, send me $2,000. I have an important trip to Seattle, and the company budget is tight. I think I will have to pay for it first." And then, Alara showed him the proof of the $2,000 transfer from her personal account to Grant's. "I made the transfer," Alara said coldly. "And this? The company also paid for." "What is this, Mr. Chen?" Mr. Chen swallowed hard. This is double billing, embezzlement, ma'am." "This is just the beginning," Alara said. "Keep looking for vendors, new vendors with large irregular payments." Mr. Chen scrolled across the screen. He stopped at a name. "Here it is, ma'am. Sun Design Consulting, LLC. Payments for design consulting services." The strange thing is that this has only happened in the last 6 months, but the payments are very large. Every month, Mr. Sterling requested 2 transfers, each between $25,000 and $40,000. The total, my goodness, the total is already $450,000, ma'am. "Who is the owner of that company and the work reports? Is there a contract?" Mr. Chen looked confused. "That's the problem, ma'am. Mr. Sterling always said it was a special vendor, that he managed the contract directly. Payments were always requested suddenly, and after he signed the approval, he asked me to make the transfer immediately. He said it was for a secret project. A secret project, Alara scoffed. She immediately called her lawyer, Mr. Reynolds. Counselor, I need you to verify a company name. Sun Design Consulting LLC. I will send you the tax registration number. I need the owner's name immediately. R. While waiting for Mr. Reynolds' call, Alara told Mr. Chen, look more at entertainment expenses, client entertainment. Mr. Chen opened Grant's corporate card data. The charges had skyrocketed: luxury restaurants, designer boutiques, and a jewelry store. Here it is, ma'am. Purchase of a diamond necklace, $5,000. The description says, gift for client X's wife. Alara laughed, a very bitter laugh. She remembered that 3 months ago, Grant came home complaining about how difficult it was to win over client X. Alara never received a diamond necklace. Alara's cell phone rang. It was Mr. Reynolds. I found the data, Mrs. Vance. Sun Design Consulting LLC was registered 3 months ago. The address is an empty lot. It appears to be a shell company address. And the owner and director is Chloe Davies. Chloe? Alara whispered. Correct, ma'am. Chloe Davies. The company's bank account is also in her name. Alara hung up. She looked at Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen, that $450,000 went to my husband's mistress's personal account. Mr. Chen was horrified, his face flushed with anger. He felt tricked. The audacity! He completely fooled me. You are not the only one. Me too, Alara said. Now, let's do the math. $450,000 for Chloe. Double billing for trips. Let's estimate $60,000 over 6 months. Personal purchases with the corporate card, $5,000. The total is over $515,000. That's outright company fund embezzlement. Alara stood up. Mr. Chen, print all this evidence. Proof of transfers, fake invoices from Sun Design Consulting LLC, copies of corporate card statements, and the company registration data in Chloe Davies' name. I want a complete, thick dossier. Yes, ma'am, I will prepare it immediately, Mr. Chen said. His movements were agile. One more thing, Alara added. Does Miss Chloe Davies work here? Mr. Chen nodded. Yes, ma'am, she's in the marketing department. She joined 6 months ago. She was personally hired by Mr. Sterling. It fits perfectly, Alara said. Prepare termination letters for Mr. Grant Sterling and Miss Chloe Davies. Right now. The reason for termination will be disciplinary dismissal for company fund embezzlement and severe violation of company ethics. Understood, Mrs. Vance. You will have them on your desk before lunchtime. An hour later, Alara left that office. She did not return to the hotel. She went to Mr. Reynolds' office. In her hands, she carried a thick dossier with all the evidence of the fund embezzlement. She handed the dossier to the lawyer. Here it is, Alara said. The wrapping for the wedding gift is ready. This is criminal evidence. I don't want a simple divorce. I want them prosecuted. Mr. Reynolds took the dossier and quickly skimmed through it. His eyes widened. This is incredible, Mrs. Vance. This is not a simple civil case. This is a clear criminal case. Misappropriation. The penalties are severe. I know, Alara said. Now we just have to wait for the mouse to come home. That night, Alara sent a brief message to the house's new owner, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison, good evening. For your information, an unwanted guest is likely to show up at the house tomorrow. He does not know the house has been sold. Please instruct security staff not to let him in. He no longer has any rights. Mr. Harrison replied quickly. I'll take care of it, Mrs. Vance, don't worry. Alara put down her cell phone. She had sold the house, secured the $15 million, blocked the credit cards, and compiled evidence of a crime worth over $500,000. She also had a $10 million life insurance policy as proof of attempted murder. The gift was carefully wrapped. Now she just had to wait for Grant and Chloe to come pick it up. Saturday noon, the weather in Los Angeles was very hot. A taxi pulled up right in front of the imposing gate on Acacia Lane. The back door opened. Grant got out first, frowning and looking haggard. He slammed the taxi door shut. Chloe got out with difficulty, dragging a large suitcase and complaining. "Honey, it's so hot. Why didn't the driver come pick us up? You said you had a personal driver." Chloe complained. Her expensive clothes looked wrinkled. "What kind of honeymoon is this? We come back and are greeted by this suffocating heat." "Shut up," Grant snapped. "My head hurts." Grant was in a very bad mood. The honeymoon plan, the 3-day trip to Cabo with Chloe, which he had told Alara was a business trip to Seattle, had turned into a disaster on the last day. The corporate card was rejected when he tried to pay the hotel. His personal credit card, which Alara always paid, was also rejected. He could barely pay with the cash left in his wallet and all of Chloe's savings. They had to take a taxi from the airport. It was very humiliating, and his wife Alara was very strange. She sent him a message about a surprise, and then her number was unavailable. Mrs. Sterling and his family's numbers were also blocked. Grant snorted. At most, it would be a fleeting anger. It would pass when he got home. He had already mentally prepared himself to face Alara's anger. He planned to say, "I had no other choice, Alara. Chloe is pregnant. You have to understand." He walked to the gate and took the remote control out of his pocket. He pressed the button. Click. There was no response. The gate remained firmly closed. He pressed it again several times. Still no response. "Shit, the remote is broken." Grant cursed. He kicked the iron fence. "Security! Open the gate!" Chloe shouted. She sheltered from the heat under the shade of a small tree, fanning her face. "Honey, why is it taking so long? I don't want to wait out here. People are looking at us. How embarrassing." Grant headed to the security booth but was surprised. The man on duty was not Mr. Lopez, whom he usually gave orders to. This was a new man, sturdily built and with an expressionless face. "Open the gate. The remote is broken," Grant ordered with an arrogant tone. The guard stood up. "Excuse me, sir. Who are you looking for?" Grant stared at him. "Who am I looking for? This is my house. Are you the new guard? Open the gate." "Excuse me, sir," the guard repeated. His voice was firm. "This house is owned by Mr. Harrison. The handover was completed yesterday. You are not on the visitor list." Grant's blood ran cold. "Mr. Harrison? Who is Mr. Harrison? This is my house, Grant Sterling and Alara Vance's house. Don't mess with me." "I'm just following orders, sir." This house was sold by the previous owner, Mrs. Alara Vance. The owner is now Mr. Harrison. "Please leave before I have to call the police." "Sold?" Grant's voice went up an octave. "Impossible. That's a lie. Alara wouldn't sell this house without my permission." "Honey!" Hearing that, Chloe immediately ran to him. She dropped the suitcase. "What do you mean it's sold, honey? This is our house, right? You said it was your house." Grant panicked, hitting the fence with his hands. Alara Vance, come out." "Don't joke, Alara, come out." The main door of the imposing house opened, but it wasn't Alara who came out. A neat-looking man, probably a personal assistant, approached the door. He looked at Grant and Chloe with cold eyes. "What is this commotion?" he asked. "And who are you?" "Where is my wife, Alara?" Grant shouted. "I am the assistant to Mr. Harrison, the new owner of this house," the man replied. "Mrs. Alara Vance handed over the keys yesterday. The house is empty. Who are you? If you don't leave, I will call the police for disturbing the peace on private property." "It's a lie. This has to be a lie." Grant lost his mind, trying to jump the fence, but the guard immediately stopped him. Chloe collapsed onto the hot asphalt. Her makeup ran with the sweat and tears that began to flow. "Honey, is it really sold? Then where are we going to live?" "You lied to me, honey. You said you were rich. You said I would live here like a queen." "Shut up," Grant shouted, frustrated. Just then, a minivan pulled up behind their taxi. The doors opened. Mrs. Sterling, his sister-in-law, and several of Grant's uncles got out. They came with cheerful faces. Their intention was to support Grant and Chloe when they confronted Alara. They planned to pressure Alara into accepting Chloe as a second wife. But what they saw was a chaotic scene, a disheveled and angry Grant arguing with a guard, and Chloe crying hysterically on the sidewalk next to an open suitcase. "Grant, what's going on?" Mrs. Sterling yelled as she ran towards him. "Why are you outside? Why is Chloe crying in the street?" Grant turned to his mother. His eyes were bloodshot. "Mom, the house. The house has been sold." "What?" Mrs. Sterling screamed. "Sold? Impossible. Who sold it?" "Alara. Who else?" Grant wailed. "That woman sold the house behind our backs." Mrs. Sterling's face, which until a moment ago was triumphant, turned instantly pale. "Sold? The $15 million house? How? Wasn't it in both your names?" "I don't know, Mom. I don't know." Grant punched the gate pillar with his fist. His hand hurt, but his heart hurt much more. A mixture of shame, rage, and confusion. Now they were all on the street. Rich people who now looked like vagrants. Grant, Chloe, Mrs. Sterling, and all their families stared blankly at the door of the luxurious house, now firmly closed to them. They had just lost their biggest asset. Chloe continued to sob. "I don't know, honey. I like this house. You have to take responsibility. I'm pregnant with your child. I don't want to suffer." "Shut up. Can't you be quiet?" Mrs. Sterling yelled at Chloe. "This is all your fault. If you hadn't gotten pregnant, Grant wouldn't have rushed with you, and Alara wouldn't have been so angry." "Wow, now it's my fault. You were the one who supported me the most. You said Alara couldn't have children," Chloe retorted undeterred. In the middle of the chaos, Grant slumped weakly onto the curb. Next to Chloe, he held his head, which he felt was about to explode. It was over. The house was gone. He had no money. The credit cards were blocked, and he was stuck with a hysterical new wife and a mother who blamed him. He didn't know this was only the beginning of his nightmare. Hysteria was an understatement to describe the scene that unfolded that afternoon in front of No. 1 Acacia Lane. Mrs. Sterling, who had arrived with a chest full of victory, was now slumped on the hot curb. Her face was pale, and her mouth mumbled something. "It's gone. Everything is gone. The $15 million house." Chloe, for her part, went from pathetic crying to fury, getting up and kicking Grant's suitcase. "Scammer, you said you were rich. You said I would live like a queen. And what is this? We are thrown out of the house. You don't even have a home, honey. You lied to me." "Don't you dare shut up," Mrs. Sterling shouted. She suddenly regained her strength, stood up, and pointed at Chloe's face. "This is all your fault, shameless woman. If you hadn't seduced my son, Alara wouldn't have been so angry. You brought disgrace." "Why is it my fault?" Chloe shouted back, no longer caring about her image. "You were the most excited to marry me to Grant. You said Alara couldn't have children. You said I was the ideal daughter-in-law because I was fertile, and now you blame me. You are the same, a gold digger. You insolent woman. Grant, defend me." Chloe pulled at Grant's sleeve, but Grant didn't react. He was paralyzed, staring at the closed gate. His mind raced at 1,000 miles per hour. Alara had sold the house. It was a fact. He couldn't get in. The guard and the assistant looked very serious. He had to leave there. How embarrassing. He saw some neighbors' cars slowing down as they passed. The passengers looked curiously. This was humiliating. He, known as a successful young executive, was now on the street, like a vagrant, surrounded by a hysterical new wife and an angry mother. Money. He needed money. He had to take them to a hotel or Chloe's apartment. Yes, the apartment. At least there was a place to rest, but to get there he needed money. He had to call a taxi. Grant checked his pockets. His wallet was thin. Only a few $50 bills were left. The rest of the cash he had taken out before his honeymoon, barely enough for a taxi, let alone a hotel. The credit cards were blocked. That meant Alara had already taken action, but there was still the joint account, the account Alara filled for household expenses. There was still $140,000 left there. He remembered clearly. Alara wouldn't be so stupid as to drain the joint account. It was joint money. With somewhat shaky hands, Grant pulled out his cell phone. He ignored Chloe and Mrs. Sterling, who continued to yell at each other. He opened the mobile banking app and looked for the joint account icon. He entered the password. His heart pounded fiercely. The application opened. He pressed the balance inquiry menu. A number appeared on the screen, a number that made him nauseous. Available balance, $0. Completely empty, down to 0. "No, impossible," Grant mumbled. He hit the refresh button. The result was the same. He closed the app and logged in again. Still the same. 0. And then he remembered that Alara had blocked his number after sending him the message about the rejected card. This was not a system error. It was intentional. Alara had drained the account. A cold sweat began to bead on Grant's forehead. Although it was very hot, he quickly switched to another banking application. His personal payroll account, the account where he received his director's salary, he opened it. Balance, $250. Only $250 left. The paycheck had just arrived last week, but he had spent freely in Cabo before the card problems arose. He thought he could use the corporate card as usual. He was completely broke. No house, no money. "Honey," Chloe shook him, "let's go to my apartment. The apartment you bought me. I don't want to be here." The apartment. Oh God, the apartment. Grant remembered something. He had bought a small studio 6 months ago, but the money was bought on installments and the down payment. Grant suddenly felt very afraid. He didn't remember exactly what money he had used. He often diverted money from the company, money from vendors. He was sure Alara didn't know. "Yes, let's go to the apartment," Grant said hoarsely. He had to calm the situation. He had to call a taxi. He opened the application. Just as he was about to press the call button, a motorcycle stopped in front of them. A delivery driver in a green jacket got off, carrying a large, very well-wrapped box. Silver metallic foil with a large, very elegant black satin ribbon. "Excuse me, a package for Mr. Grant Sterling and Miss Chloe Davies?" the delivery driver asked, reading the label on the box. Grant, Chloe, and Mrs. Sterling turned around at the same time. They fell silent. "Miss Chloe Davies," the delivery driver repeated. "Yes, that's me," Chloe replied hesitantly. She stepped forward. "Yes, correct. Mr. Grant Sterling and Miss Chloe Davies. The address is here, Acacia Lane number 1. Please sign here." The delivery driver handed her his mobile device. Grant signed, paralyzed. The delivery driver handed him the large box, which weighed quite a bit, and immediately left. Now the three of them, along with the rest of the family, were on the curb looking at the luxurious gift box. "Whose is it?" asked the sister-in-law, who had been silent until now. Chloe saw a small card tied to the ribbon. She took it. There was very elegant calligraphy. Alara's calligraphy. "What does it contain?" Mrs. Sterling asked suspiciously. "It won't be garbage or a bomb, will it?" "I don't think so, Mom," Grant said. But his heart was also uneasy. Chloe read aloud what was written on the card. Her voice trembled slightly. "Congratulations on your wedding. Your first wedding gift. Open it. A gift from Alara." After everything that had happened, this felt very wrong. "Maybe it's an apology," Chloe blurted out. Her eyes suddenly shone. "Maybe there's jewelry or a check. She realized she made a mistake selling the house and is giving us compensation." "Open it," Mrs. Sterling ordered. Her greed overcame her suspicion. With still trembling hands, Grant placed the box on the suitcase, pulled the black satin ribbon, which gently untied, and tore the expensive silver paper. Inside was a very sturdy black box, unbranded, just a simple black box. Grant's heart pounded very fast. This was the calm before the storm. He could feel it. He lifted the lid of the box. Inside was not what Chloe expected. There was no jewelry, no stacks of bills, no checks, only a soft black satin fabric. On the fabric were 2 thick, officially sealed white envelopes. The paper was rigid and expensive. The logo of the company where Grant worked, the design and construction company, was printed in the upper left corner. One envelope said, "To Mr. Grant Sterling." The second envelope said, "To Miss Chloe Davies." Grant's breath was cut short. This was not a gift. It was an official letter. "They're just letters," Chloe shouted, disappointed. She immediately snatched the envelope with her name. "What is this?" Grant grabbed his envelope. His hands were stiff. He felt the gaze of Mrs. Sterling and the entire family on him. He sharply broke the seal. He took out the folded paper inside. It was written on official company letterhead with Mr. Miller's signature. Grant read it. His eyes moved quickly over the lines. Subject: Notice of disciplinary termination. Attention! Grant Sterling, Director of Operations, following the results of an internal audit and in consideration of a serious violation of ethics and immoral conduct that damages the company's honor. Grant felt his heart shrink. With the issue date of this notification, the company officially notifies the termination of the employment relationship with Mr. Grant Sterling by disciplinary dismissal. He is not entitled to severance pay, final settlement, or any company benefits. All company assets, including the company vehicle, must be returned within 24 hours. Fired! That voice was not Grant's. It was Chloe's sharp cry. She had also finished reading her letter. The content was similar: disciplinary dismissal. The reason was violation of company ethics, an inappropriate relationship with a superior, and involvement in a conspiracy that harmed the company. "I've been fired, honey. I've been fired!" Chloe shook Grant. The letter fell from her hands and fluttered onto the asphalt. Grant himself couldn't speak. He had been fired from the company he ran. How? "Mr. Miller? What is this dismissal?" Mrs. Sterling wailed. She snatched the letter from Grant's hand, reading it quickly. Her eyes widened. "Disciplinary dismissal? How? Grant, you're the director there. You're important." Grant didn't answer. He looked with empty eyes inside the black box. His eyes caught something else. Beneath the satin fabric holding the 2 envelopes was another card, a small ivory card, smaller than the greeting card before. He extended a trembling hand and picked up the small card. Again, Alara's calligraphy sharp, determined, cold. He read it in his mind first. "Oh, and by the way, Grant, that company is mine. I own 90% of the shares. Mr. Miller was just following my orders. You just got fired from my property." Grant staggered. He leaned on the cold pillar of the gate, the pillar of a house that was no longer his. The company was Alara's. 90%. He knew Alara had invested. He knew she had founded it. But Alara never interfered. Alara gave him freedom. He thought Alara was a passive, foolish investor. He thought the company was his to control. He was wrong. Terribly wrong. Alara was the absolute owner. He was just an employee who had just been fired. "Grant, what does this mean?" "Mrs. Sterling clearly saw the change in Grant's expression. Grant couldn't take it anymore. He read the sentence on the card aloud. His voice trembled, a mixture of rage and immense fear. "Oh, and by the way, Grant, that company is mine. I own 90% of the shares. You just got fired from my property." For 5 seconds there was complete silence on that curb. Even Chloe stopped crying. And then Grant continued reading the last line of the card. "But don't worry, the real main gift hasn't arrived yet." Thud. That was the sound of Mrs. Sterling's body hitting the sidewalk. She had fainted, eyes closed, face pale as a corpse. The sister-in-law and uncles panicked. "Mom! Mom, wake up!" They tried to wake her up by patting her cheeks. Chloe didn't care about her mother-in-law. She looked at Grant with terrified eyes. "It's Alara's. The company is Alara's. So, then your salary, your car, everything came from her?" Grant didn't respond. He crumpled the card in his hand. "You never had anything," Chloe yelled again. Her voice was now broken. "You were poor, jobless, homeless. You're a scammer." Chloe pulled at her hair like a madwoman, sobbing. She had bet everything on marrying this man. She was pregnant, and now she knew the man had nothing. She was fired. She wouldn't receive compensation. She was trapped. "The main gift hasn't arrived yet," Grant whispered to himself. The phrase echoed in his head. He saw his mother passed out on the asphalt. He saw his hysterical new wife. He saw the rest of his family looking at him with confusion and fear. The $15 million house was gone. The $140,000 from the joint account was gone. The credit cards blocked. The job with a salary of hundreds of thousands a year was gone. The sports car would be reclaimed. He had been fired for disciplinary reasons, and Alara said the main gift had not yet arrived. A pure and cold terror ran down Grant's spine. What else was left? What could be worse than this? The chaos on the sidewalk reached its peak. Mrs. Sterling, who had regained consciousness and was sitting on the hot curb, was slumped. Her face was pale, and her mouth mumbled something. "It's gone. Everything is gone. The $15 million house." Chloe, for her part, had moved from hysterical crying to a desperate wail. Her hair, once perfectly styled, was now messy, and her completely smudged makeup revealed a swollen face full of hatred. She repeatedly hit Grant's chest. "Scammer! Scammer! You said you would give me a good life. You said you would make me a lady. It turns out you're poor. You have nothing. I'm pregnant, Grant. I'm pregnant. What are we going to do now?" Grant himself was like a statue. His mind was blank. The words on the small card, "That company is mine, and the main gift hasn't arrived yet," repeated in his head like a broken record. He had lost everything in a matter of hours. House, money, job, car, pride. He had miscalculated. He had underestimated Alara. He thought Alara was a submissive, foolish, docile woman who would accept her fate in silence. He never imagined Alara was the lioness quietly controlling his entire life. "The main gift hasn't arrived yet," he whispered. What else could it be? What could be worse than being completely ruined in front of his whole family? As if answering his question, the sound of a siren was heard in the distance. It wasn't an ambulance for Mrs. Sterling. The sound was different. 2 police patrol cars, blue and white, turned onto Acacia Lane and slowed down in front of their small group. The silent spinning lights added a surreal touch to the hot afternoon. The doors of the cars opened, and 4 uniformed officers got out. 2 stayed by the cars, while the other 2, a tall, imposing veteran and a younger officer with a dossier, approached them. Grant's whole family, including Chloe, instantly fell silent. Only Chloe's sobs could be heard. The veteran officer scanned the group with a piercing gaze. His sight stopped at Grant, and then at Chloe. He compared their faces with a photo in the dossier held by his partner. "Good afternoon," the veteran officer said. His voice was deep and firm. "Are you Grant Sterling and Chloe Davies?" Grant swallowed hard. His tongue felt stuck. Yes, I am. I am Grant Sterling. What is going on?" "Yes." Chloe tightly grasped Grant's arm. Her body trembled violently. "Honey, why are the police here?" she whispered, terrified. The officer ignored Chloe's question. He continued, "We are the police. We have received a complaint and strong initial evidence of company fund embezzlement and fraud." Grant's heart seemed to drop into his stomach. "Embezzlement? Embezzlement, officer?" Grant tried to laugh, but what came out was a strange, broken sound. "You have the wrong person. This has to be a misunderstanding. I am the director of my company. It's impossible for me to have embezzled funds." "The charges are specific," the young officer said, opening the dossier. "You are accused of embezzling $515,000 from Vance Associates Design, billed through a shell company called Sun Design Consulting LLC, double billing travel expenses, and abusing the corporate card for personal gain." Grant went pale. The amount was exact. The company name was mentioned. "This is not a threat, it's a slander, people," Grant shouted. His voice was now sharp with panic. "It must be a false report. It's my wife's doing. She's trying to set me up." "Can you explain all that at the station?" the veteran officer said curtly. "Now both of you must accompany us for further investigation." "No, I don't want to," Chloe shouted. "I'm pregnant, officer. I didn't know anything. I just signed what Grant told me. He handled everything. I'm a victim." "Chloe, shut up," Grant snapped. Just then, another black luxury sedan, not Alara's usual car, gently pulled up behind the police cars. The back door opened. Alara got out. She looked very different. There was no expression of sadness, anger, or panic. She was calm, cold, and very dignified. She wore a beige silk blouse, dress pants, and a matching scarf. Large black sunglasses covered her eyes, adding an air of inaccessibility. She was not alone. Behind her stepped out her lawyer, Mr. Reynolds, carrying a small briefcase. Grant stared at Alara with wide eyes. "Alara, you reported me," he shouted. "How could you? Are you going to send your husband to jail?" Alara slowly approached them, stopped in front of the officers, and took off her sunglasses, revealing clear but icy eyes. She looked at Grant. "Husband," she said. Her voice was clear and audible to everyone. "Which husband?" The husband who held a secret wedding with his mistress? The husband who paid for that illegal wedding with stolen money? Or the husband who planned to murder his wife for a $10 million insurance policy? Each word was a blow. Grant froze. Mrs. Sterling, who had just regained consciousness and was sitting on the curb, gasped when she heard about the $10 million insurance policy. Alara was no longer looking at Grant. She addressed the veteran officer. "Good afternoon, Inspector. I am Alara Vance. I am the 90% shareholder of Vance Associates Design Build. I am the complainant." Mr. Reynolds stepped forward and handed the briefcase to the officer. "Inspector, inside here is all the complete evidence. Proof of transfers to the Sun Design Consulting LLC account, the company registration in Chloe Davies' name, the fake invoices signed by Mr. Sterling, evidence of double billing trips, and copies of corporate card statements that include personal purchases. We have audited everything." The officer took the briefcase and opened it briefly. He saw the stacks of neat documents. He nodded. "This is more than enough. Take them away." "No," Grant struggled. He realized it was the end. "Alara, don't do this. I made a mistake. I'm sorry, Alara. Give me a chance. Don't send me to jail." "A chance?" Alara laughed, a humorless laugh. "Your chance ended, Grant. When you cheated on me, when you conspired with your mother, and when you signed that life insurance policy in my name." And then Alara looked at Chloe, who was now crying silently. Her body trembled violently. "And you, Miss Chloe Davies, enjoyed the stolen money, set up a shell company in your name, and became the beneficiary of a $10 million insurance policy. Your pregnancy will not save you from justice." The other two officers advanced. One grabbed Grant's arm, the other Chloe's. "Let go of me," Grant resisted. His fear had now turned into blind rage. He broke free and lunged at Alara. "This is all your fault, you bitch. If I can't have you, no one will." His movement was fast, but the police's was faster. Before Grant could touch Alara, he was subdued. His arms were twisted behind his back. Mr. Reynolds quickly pulled Alara away. "Restrain him," the veteran officer shouted. "Let go of me. I'll kill her," Grant screamed. An officer pulled out handcuffs. Click. Grant's hands were now cuffed behind his back. Alara looked at her now helpless ex-husband. Her face remained calm. She said to the officer, "Inspector, please note it down. The death threat in front of these witnesses supports my other complaint about the insurance policy." "Yes, ma'am, noted," the officer said, motioning for Grant to be taken to the car. "Alara," Grant continued to shout. His voice as he was dragged to the police car was now full of desperation. "I regret it, Alara. I swear. I love you. Let go of me. Mom, help me. Mrs." Sterling watched in shock, her son, her pride, now handcuffed as a criminal. Thud. Chloe, seeing Grant handcuffed and realizing her fate, finally fainted. Her body slumped onto the curb. "Inspector!" Grant's sister-in-law cried out. "Take her away. There is medical staff at the station, too," the veteran officer said without compassion. A waiting female officer quickly helped move the unconscious Chloe to the second police car. The doors of the two patrol cars closed, the sirens turned on again. They slowly drove away down Acacia Lane, taking a screaming Grant and a passed-out Chloe. Alara stood still and let out a long sigh. The main gift had been delivered. Mrs. Sterling crawled on the asphalt with what strength she had left. She looked at Alara with eyes full of hatred. "You are a viper. You ruined my son. You ruined our family. You will rot in hell." Alara looked at her mother-in-law, her ex-mother-in-law, for the last time. "You ruined your son yourself when you supported his greed, when you justified his betrayal, when you celebrated with him over my pain. You reap what you sow." Alara turned and put her sunglasses back on. She got into her luxury car. Mr. Reynolds followed her. The car drove away in silence, leaving behind Mrs. Sterling screaming on the hot curb, and the rest of the family plunged into shame and despair. The game was over. Alara had won. The legal process was swift and unforgiving. The evidence presented by Alara was too solid to be refuted. The documents prepared by Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Reynolds quote, and Mr. Reynolds quoting, Chen were so clean that they clearly showed the digital trail and the flow of funds. The $515,000 embezzlement was proven beyond a doubt. Grant tried to shirk responsibility, blaming Chloe, saying he had been framed. He claimed Chloe seduced him and managed the finances of Sun Design Consulting LLC, but his claims were refuted by his signature on all the fake invoices and fund requests. Chloe, for her part, tried to use her pregnancy to gain sympathy. She claimed to be a victim coerced by Grant to sign documents she did not understand. But the Sun Design Consulting LLC bank account with hundreds of thousands of dollars was in her name, and she was proven to have withdrawn money from that account for luxury shopping. After a tedious trial, the judge delivered his verdict. Justice was served. Grant was found guilty as the principal perpetrator of misappropriation and fraud. He was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. The death threat shouted in front of the police, and the $10 million life insurance policy in Alara's name were aggravating factors. The judge considered him a dangerous person with premeditated malice. Chloe was also found guilty. Her role as an accomplice who enjoyed the benefits of the crime was proven. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Her pregnancy did not exempt her. It only ensured that she would give birth in prison medical facilities. The karma did not stop there. Mrs. Sterling was the most miserable. Her only son, her pride, was now an inmate. She lost her main source of income. Relatives who previously flattered her now avoided her. They were ashamed and did not want to be involved in the family's disgrace. As rumors about the case spread through the neighborhood, Mrs. Sterling did not dare to leave home. To pay the expensive lawyer fees for Grant, who ultimately lost the case, she had to sell her own house. Because she urgently needed the money, she sold it at a very low price. Within a year, Mrs. Sterling was ruined. She had to move to a rented room in a narrow alley. She lived alone, full of regret and hatred. Chloe gave birth to a son in the prison hospital. According to procedure, the baby could only be with her for a short time before being handed over to social services, as even Chloe's family refused to care for him. They were ashamed and had erased Chloe's name from their family record. Chloe's dream of living a life of wealth ended behind bars, separated from her child and penniless. Grant in jail became an irritable and taciturn person. He had lost everything. His attractive face was gone, replaced by an empty stare. He regretted not betraying Alara, but being stupid, careless, and getting caught, and Alara officially divorced while her husband was under investigation. The court accepted her petition very easily, given the evidence of adultery and criminal activity. With the $15 million from the house sale, plus all her other personal assets, Alara began a new life. She no longer wanted to be linked to the construction company that reminded her of the betrayal. She sold Vance Associates' design build to Mr. Miller and other investors. Alara decided to use her power for something greater. 2 years later, in the ballroom of a luxurious hotel in Los Angeles, Alara was on stage. She was elegant and radiant. A sky-blue scarf perfectly matched her outfit. She no longer looked cold. Her eyes now shone with warmth and confidence. She was speaking to hundreds of guests at the official launch of the Alara Vance Light Foundation. "Betrayal is poison," she said. Her voice was calm and resonant. "It can kill us inside, but it can also be an antidote if we choose not to die. It can force us to see our own worth. Today, I am not here as a victim. I am here as a survivor who chose to transform that poison into strength." A thunderous applause erupted. The Alara Vance Light Foundation was a non-profit organization she founded, financed entirely with her personal wealth. Its purpose was to provide legal support, protection, and financial independence training to women victims of domestic violence and financial fraud. After the event, her former colleague Skylar, who had become her personal assistant, approached her with a tablet. "Ma'am, the event was a huge success. Many sponsors have signed up immediately. Oh, and there was a small piece of news earlier." "What news?" Alara asked, accepting a cup of hot tea. "Mrs. Sterling has been evicted for non-payment of rent. I heard she is now living with distant relatives, treated as a servant," Skylar reported dryly. "And about Miss Davies, her request for parole has been rejected by the judge. He considered that she still shows no signs of remorse." Alara was silent for a moment. She looked out the window, watching the LA sun begin to set. She felt no satisfaction or pity, just a neutral feeling. The justice of the universe had followed its own course. Everyone had reaped what they sowed. "Understood," Alara finally said, turning away from the window and smiling at Skylar. "Don't worry about that news. We still have a lot of work to do. Schedule a meeting with the legal team. We have a new client who needs our help." Alara left the ballroom surrounded by people who admired her. She had lost a traitorous husband, but she had found herself. She was free, wealthy, and most importantly, she had transformed her scars into a light for others. That was the best karma and the most satisfying ending to the story.